What's going on, chicken friends? It's Donna Little from the Coop Scoop, and I'm hanging out with my little rooster friend who is clearly wearing this lovely fashion statement bra. If you haven't heard, yeah, I have a rooster. I didn't go get a rooster. I didn't mean to have a rooster. But when we got the Cochins, 3 of the 10 ended up being roosters, and we rehomed the other 2, and we just were in love with this little guy. So we're going to keep him. I mean, come on, he's precious. But he also is wearing a bra and is in the house because he had sauerkraut. So I mentioned it in a short, I don't know, last week. And I had a lot of people say, oh, I hope he feels better. Listen, he has not acted for 1 second like he didn't feel fantastic. I know that chickens can hide things, but I've had him in the house so that I could monitor what he was eating and drinking and keep a close eye on the situation so I could try to get this under control. He has cruised around my house like he's on spring break. He's having a great time. I mean, he has not for 1 minute had a lack of appetite, been lethargic, acted like a single thing was wrong. He's enjoying himself quite a bit. So he's just puttering around right now, eating things off of the floor. But I noticed it a couple of weeks ago and started to realize he was getting sauerkraut. And it was kind of something I didn't really want to play around with. And I went ahead and went straight to medication. Normally, I do try to take a more natural route and, use herbs and, anything that might just sort of boost the immune system. And in this situation, I would want to use things that were antifungal. And I did do all of that also, but I wanted to try to really get this under control as quickly as possible. And I mentioned when I was talking about it, I don't fortunately have a lot of experience with sauerkraut because in all the years I've had chickens, I've only had a couple that ever had it. And his situation was different than when the other ones had it because I gave them medication and they came through it and it was just done and over with. And they got over it really quickly. But after giving him the medication for sauerkraut for the amount of days he was supposed to have it, I was seeing improvement in the amount of fluid that was in his crop in the morning. It had gone down to just maybe a little tiny bit. And I thought, okay, we're on the right track. We're going to get this under control. And then it started to get worse. And so I thought, I think, Mark and I were talking about it, and I said, I think we're looking at him having a bacterial infection instead of sauerkraut. Now, I know that sauerkraut can come from a number of different things, having moldy feed. That's not the case here. Eating things that they shouldn't eat, that won't go down well and causing an obstruction. And that is a possibility with him because he was pulling on some roots and stuff from the ground cover that was in the run. And so I was a little bit concerned that maybe there was an obstruction at first, but he was pooping perfectly fine. His poop looked great. It would go down and then it would come back, and his crop. And so I was just like, I'm not entirely sure if there could be a partial obstruction, not in his crop anymore, but down further in his digestive tract. And yet at the same time, I feel like even if I had that going on, he would act a little bit like he didn't feel good. And I was not seeing that because I've had him in the house during the day, and then I've just taken him back outside and put him on the roost so he can kind of keep his connection with his little flock at night. But I want to make sure I'm seeing what he's eating. And I mean, he is into everything. Literally, he has been in all the rooms in the house. He's checked everything out. I mean, I find him over in the dining room and I'm like, he's eyeballing, the table. And I'm like, no, I do not need you on my dining room table. I catch him on this coffee table all the time. And, he's so cute. But I know there'll be people that say, he loves to go in there. So I always say, are you in jail? He's in timeout. But it's like, I know some people would say, why don't you just shut him in a room somewhere, like put him in your bathroom? But I'm not kidding when I say he's needy. I mean, he is just this little mama's boy. And if I walk out of the room, he'll go wander around by himself, but it's like if he can hear me, we're okay. He literally was crying in the bathroom. I'm not kidding. I can't deal with that. I would rather I'm just here to serve. I'm just going to follow him around and clean up his poo because I don't want him to be unhappy as well as have a health problem. So the big problem for me has been finding a vet. You've probably heard me talk about it in other videos. There are no vets in my area that see chickens at all. So when I had the issue with Kaya, the little chick that had the slip tendon, I was finally able to get my hands on a list of vets. Still no help. I mean, it was like one after the next. We don't see chickens anymore, or they wouldn't answer the phone. And so I found the list again because I said to Mark, if this is bacterial, I can't get the appropriate antibiotics. So even the antifungal things I'm giving him naturally, and, the things that I'm doing for him with herbs and colloidal silver and, kefir and all this stuff, I don't think it's enough I'm going to have to go, to antibiotics. And I can't get my hands on them if I can't find a vet. You can't just call any vet and say, hey, I know you don't see chickens, but will you give me antibiotics? Because they're not going to do it. And I would know this because I tried. And they said no. But I finally, I found the list again, and I called the one that never answered the phone. And when you would get a recording, it would just say, you've reached such and such vet, leave, or they don't even have a way to leave a message. It would be like, just call back during business hours. And I was like, I am calling during business hours. So it was a little frustrating. So I tried calling them again, and they had an email. So I was like, last ditch effort, I'm going to just try emailing them. Probably won't get me anywhere. And they emailed me right back and said, we no longer see chickens, but here's a list of vets that do. And I was like, okay, here we go again. But when they sent me the list, there was one vet on there that hadn't been on the first list. And I was just like, please let these people, they're not close to me, but I was like, let them be somebody that sees chickens. And I called them a couple of days ago and told them what my situation was. I just said, do you see chickens? And they said, yes, we sure do. Would you like to come in tomorrow? And I was like, what? Yes, I would like to come in tomorrow. So I took him yesterday, and normally during the day, I go get him off the roost like first thing in the morning, and I let him wander around the house, and he just does whatever he wants to do. But if I'm busy, I have to go take care of the girls or whatever, I'll say to Mark, keep an eye on him, because I don't want him on my furniture. Like, I don't want him standing in a dining room chair that's cloth or on my sofa, and he will. And so I didn't have time or Mark didn't have time, and I didn't have time to not go take care of the chickens really quickly, because I had to leave pretty early to get to this appointment for him. So I put the iPad on the floor, and I let him watch Roosters for a little while, which he seemed to enjoy. And then I put some chicks on for him to watch, and he didn't seem to enjoy those as much. I think he was like, these are too young for me, Mom. I don't know. I don't want to see these. So I did keep him occupied yesterday for a little while I was outside doing what I had to do to clean up and everything for the big girls. But we hopped in the car and we went on our way, and he was very good in the little crate. After we got home, he was not happy being in the crate on the way home. And when we got back, I just set it in the floor and let him out. And then he went and just sat down on the door of it that was open, like, this is what I think about you, to this crate. But when we got to the vet, first of all, I'm just glad that I found one and that I know they're there now. In the case I have a crisis or something, then there is somebody that I can go to. It was a distance. It was a little drive. We were gone most of the day. But when the vet tech came in and, asked a few questions and how long has this been going on and blah, 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 she said, what is his purpose? And I literally just stared at her. I was like processing, like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means, And so I wanted to say just to be cute, but that didn't seem like an appropriate answer. And so I was like, we just stared at each other. And then she said, is he for meat or is he a pet? And I was like, oh my gosh. I said, he's a pet. And then I was like, this would be like a kid's meal. It's like for meat. He's like, his body's like this big around. What are you talking about? So she looked him over and she felt his crop really well. And then she said, I said, he's pooping great. And she said, he's not at all underweight. He's got a great weight to him if this has been going on for a couple of weeks. And he's pooping well. And of course I had a sample. And so I was like, yeah, he's pooping great and it looks perfect. And she said, if that's the case, then, I don't feel like there's any obstruction, even a partial obstruction. I think you're just probably looking at it has become a bacterial infection. So I was like, that's what I was thinking. I literally could be a vet at this point, I'm telling you. But they took him back and they did, make him expel some of this liquid, and they did a culture, and the vet came in, and I really liked them. They were very, very nice. And he said, he definitely has a bacterial infection. He said, I see like maybe just the tiniest little bit of yeast still in there, but that's like nothing I would even concern myself with. And so he was able to prescribe me the antibiotics that he needs. And he said, and it's something that goes in his water. And the vet said, you said you've had him in the house, right? And I said, yeah, he's been in the house for days. And he said, well, just keep him in for about 5 more days. I was like, awesome. 5 more days of following him around, picking up his poop. But he's actually been a lot of fun in the house. He has learned a few things since he's been in here. Like if he hears me open the refrigerator, he immediately runs to the fridge because he knows that food comes out of there. And then if I say, I'm going to say it quietly, are you hungry? Because he knows what that means. And he will come flying to me. Like, watch his reaction in this video.
You hungry?
I mean, the boy can also trash the entire area while he's eating. And, it is what it is. I'm just walking around cleaning up messes. That's what I apparently am here for. But he is wearing this fashionable bra. And they did tell me, because I was like, I don't know if I've had this bra that was on him and I didn't have it on him then. And I have given him breaks from it. The one that I had made, first of all, and I made it out of felt because I wanted it to be really soft, but I still felt like it was uncomfortable because I had to tie it on his back. And I thought, is this not digging in his back? So I was telling her that. And she said, what is the best thing is something like you need it to not just lift up, because like you can see in this video just how far his crop was hanging. And she said, you not only need it to lift up, but like really press in. And she said, like a good pair of stretch pants. And I thought, that is exactly the material I need. And so what I did when I got home is I took the bottom of the leg of an old pair of leggings, and I just cut a section of it off and put a couple of holes in it. So I pulled it on him like a sock. And so it's a nice big wide soft spread of material across his back. So nothing is like knotted or tied or digging in, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. So it's pulling it slightly up and pressing in. Perfect spandexy kind of material for what he needs. But I did have a conversation with them about just how stretched out his crop had gotten. And she said, have you felt it, any muscle control? And I said, yes, I can tell. Like sometimes I'm doing like the gentle massages and you can feel it like tighten up on its own and the muscles move. And she said, okay. So then when she was palpating it, she said, I can feel he has muscle tone. So I think that it probably, with the support of a bra, will eventually just sort of, shouldn't take too long to come back and be back in the spot that it's in. And she said, if he was older, or like you'll see it in old hens or older hens, a lot of times they just lose all their muscle tone, and it just becomes this, lifetime of a pendulous crop that you always have to support. So she seems to think, and I think also that it is going to kind of come back up and that the muscle tone is still there. But in the meantime, for the next few days, he's going to be in. And the reason is so he will only drink the water that he is supposed to drink. And, I'll be able to keep an eye on him. However, I am going to let him have visits starting today. It's definitely already gone down. So that makes me happy. I'm just glad to know that I'm sort of on the right track with him, because I can have knowledge if I want, but if he needs a medicine I can't get my hands on, it's not, it doesn't help. But I am going to take him out, and I'll just take their water up, and, because I don't want him drinking anything but what he needs to get this medicine in him. And we'll just kind of, take him out for little visits here and there through the day so he can get out, because the next few days is going to be back in the 70s and it's going to be wonderful. But I know you guys that have seen my video where I talked about him having sauerkraut wanted an update. So I think we are on the road to recovery. And like I said, during this whole time, he has never acted like he didn't feel good. He has just been all over the place in the house, having himself a great old time. So I will keep you abreast of the situation as it progresses. I've got 4 more days of antibiotics to give him, and hopefully he will be all good to go again and can get back out there and live with his ladies and start to learn how to be a rooster. But it is adorable because I walked out of the room earlier and shut the door in his face, and he just stood at the door and crowed. He's a sweet baby. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying our content. And if you are, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Have a fantastic day, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.